This is New York's Country 94.7.
Welcome to the Radio.com Theater. I'm Katie Neal from New York's Country 94.7, and today I'm hanging out with one of our hometown superstars, Lauren Davidson. It's so good to see you.
It's so good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Of course, we're so happy you're here. You may have seen Lauren. She's performed several times in our talent search. She's also performed at a lot of our charity events or our summer kickoffs. So you're always hanging out with us. We love when you're around. And most recently, you actually got to sing the national anthem and make your debut at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was awesome.
That?
Honestly, obviously, bucket list, especially being from New York. I hope to play there with my original music someday, but even just singing the national anthem and taking center stage, it was sold out, was completely incredible.
It's so, whenever you're in Madison Square Garden, it's just like the craziest.
I mean, even just attending a concert or walking around there, you're like, you get those chills.
I know. It's one of my favorite places. But you have such a loyal following here in the Tri-State. But if there's anyone who doesn't know you or hasn't seen you live or heard your music yet, let's just talk a little bit about where you're from, because you are from New York, and how you got into music.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was actually born in Brooklyn and lived there for a few years before my family moved to New Jersey. I grew up in Freehold, New Jersey, where Bruce Springsteen is from. And then I moved back to New York City a few years ago. I've been in music pretty much my entire life. I grew up doing theater, but my father is a singer-songwriter, or was a singer-songwriter, kind of put it aside as a hobby to have a family and kids and raise us, basically. But music was always something that was around my house. And about a few years ago, I started coming up with these ideas for songs after living in New York, things that just kind of hit me on the street that I would record voice memos of. And I was like, hey, I have all these ideas for songs and I want to make something of them. Do you want to sit down and try and write with me? Next thing I knew, I had 1 song, 2 songs, 5 songs, 10 songs.
And this is with your dad?
All with my dad, just my dad, honestly.
That's so
And then
awesome.
as we started making them actual tracks and arranging them and put a band together and started performing them, I started going down to Nashville and meeting other songwriters and writing there in this country community.
So when someone asks you what your inspiration is or what your sound is like, how do you describe it?
I always describe it as a hybrid. It's a little bit rock, a little bit country, a little bit pop, a lot of singer-songwriter. It focuses on telling stories, but I'm influenced by so many different artists of different genres that I feel like that all is in my music as well. A little bit of Grace Potter, a little bit of Stevie Nicks, a little bit Carrie Underwood. It's kind of a big hybrid of what I call urban country.
Yes, I love that. And Lauren's shows are so much fun to go to live if you get the chance to see her. And it's funny because I feel like you do a lot of traveling, you're touring a lot. So when you're outside of the Tri-State playing gigs and you tell people that you're a country music artist from New York City, what is the reaction?
Honestly, that's always the first question people ask me. What is it like being a country artist in New York? And honestly, until radio came to New York, I feel like country music wasn't so big here, except for, I think, what I listened to growing up, which was a lot of the female pop country crossovers, the Faith Hill, Martina McBride, Shania Twain kind of thing. So everyone's like, country music in New York, that doesn't feel real. What do you do there? How did it come about? But for me, it was just kind of I like telling stories. And as pop music has changed so much, it kind of strayed away from storytelling. And that's what country music is all about. So I never felt like I didn't belong in that world or in that community. You know, it just kind of felt right for me.
Absolutely. And I love asking artists this and getting their point of view. But why do you think it is then? Because New York doesn't seem like the place immediately that you'd be like, that's a country music market. But what do you think it is here? Because our fans are so passionate. They love country music. And what do you think that is?
I think just New York is honestly, it's probably one of my favorite cities in the entire world, and I've done
Agreed.
a fair amount of traveling. I've always loved New York, but I think it's just a place that so many people who aren't from here also want to come to. So having the platform of radio, it brings stars here. Every major star comes here at some point in time to either play a show or to do press or, to talk about their music and meet with their fans. So I feel like having that as the platform for us emerging artists to kind of come up and follow in that footsteps, but also being from here. So it's a little more authentic city.
Exactly. The country club is alive and well in New York City. So you've got a new single out. It's called Soaking Up Every Second. You co-wrote on this song. So just talk about the inspiration behind it and where this idea came from.
Yeah. So I wrote this with a buddy of mine. His name's Adam McDonough. He lives in Nashville. And ironically enough, he grew up in New Jersey as well. But we didn't meet until Nashville. And I went over to do this right with him. And he was like, what are you feeling today? I was like, I'm feeling really happy to be here. The sun was shining outside. And we were just kind of talking about how things get so crazy in life, with touring and being on the road, and especially going to Nashville from here and getting on a plane. And it just kind of popped out that he was like, you got to soak up every second. And we were both like,
That's it.
So we sat down to write the song, and I knew when we wrote it that day that it was something that was really special. I wanted to start performing it right away. I did start performing it right away, and then working on it in the studio and watch it come to life at another level has been something really great. It's just a song that like sparks joy for me.
Yeah. And I love that. And I feel like it's such a thing right now in like 2019 culture to be more mindful and more present. Like everyone's trying to do that. And
Absolutely.
I feel like that message is really going to resonate with a lot of
Especially like
people.
doing what we do too and being so busy and running around and traveling. Like it's so easy to be like, oh, I wish summer was over, or I wish Christmas was here, or I wish like next year would come already so that this could happen or this could happen. And honestly, like I've been trying to just be more mindful through this song too of just like, no, I'm loving this moment. Like I'm loving being here right now, or I'm loving like having lunch before coming here. You know, I'm loving releasing this new song. I'm loving the things that are happening as they're happening instead of like looking forward to the next and the next.
Well, I love that and all the good vibes that you're spreading.
Thank
so
you.
2019 has been a big year for
It
you.
has.
You opened up for Michael Ray, Trace Adkins, and then you also got accepted into the Recording Academy.
I know, it's incredible.
I know, which is so exciting. But as we're like rounding the corner towards 2020, like what do you feel like is next for you or your next big goal that you're working on?
So we spent like most of last year and this year writing a lot and kind of doing those things, but pushing the songs aside as we were like performing and touring. So we actually just got into the studio to start working on like the next big project, which I'm excited about for next year. So there's definitely gonna be a lot of music for next year coming out.
Well, we're excited about that.
Thank you, me
and like I
too.
said, Lauren's live shows are incredible. So let's talk about some things that you have coming up where listeners can come out and see you live.
Well, if you're here in New York City, I'm going to be opening for Kaylee Shore at New York Country Swag's Manhattan by Sale. They've done a bunch of them now, which I haven't been able to go to, but I've just been like eyeing all their pictures
They
and their
look
videos.
unbelievable.
It looks incredible, and I'm so excited for that. And also, I'm a pretty big fan of Kaylee being like a woman in country music. She's definitely has like the Nashville scene under her belt. So we're excited to welcome her here in New York and to open for her. I'm going to be heading to Vermont also next month to open for the Indigo Girls, which,
That's awesome.
as I mentioned, like loving these female voices, like that's going to be a pretty cool experience as well. And I've never been to Vermont, so that's
It's
going to be
beautiful.
awesome.
You'll love
That's
it.
what it looks like. It's like just on top of a mountain. It looks gorgeous. And we're heading back to South Dakota. We were there in June, and we're going to be playing a show with Diamond Rio. So that's
my
really cool
gosh.
too. We get like a little bit of everything.
Yeah, you've got a little
music-wise.
bit of everything. And if you want to check out some of Lauren's other concert dates, you can do that at laurendavidsonmusic.com. You can also make sure you get her new single that's out right now, Soaking Up Every Second. And thank you so much for coming to see us
Thank you
today.
for having me.
We love you.
I love you back.
Thanks for tuning in. This is New York's Country 94.7.